Hold on tight, because the 1960 Harley Davidson Topper isn't what you think. Beneath that charming retro scooter facade lies a baffling twist that even vintage bike lovers find jaw-dropping. What's more, its engine design was so bizarre, you'll question whether it's genius or a mechanical dare gone too far. And yes, it's about to get stranger. But first, go ahead and smash that subscribe button as if it's a stubborn bolt you can't budge. You won't want to miss the weirdest twist coming up next. Let's rewind to post-World War II America. Harley Davidson is king of the heavyweight cruisers, roaring down highways. And then, in 1960, they unleash the Topper, a tiny, weirdo lightweight scooter. Why? Because Harley needed to chase the booming European scooter trend. Think Lambretta and Vespa scooting past anchors on the beach. The Topper wasn't just a budget move. It was Harley's awkward teenage experiment. But here's where things start to twist. This was not a conventional two-stroke engine. It was something far more peculiar. Stick around, because what makes this engine tick, or rather, spin's going to make you rethink what you know about motorcycle engineering. Stick around. What makes this engine tick is coming next. Here's where it gets seriously interesting. The Topper packs a two-stroke single-cylinder air-cooled engine designated the HD100. But that's just the surface. Its real quirk? A rotary valve induction. Basically, instead of conventional reed valves or ports, it uses a rotating disc to time the fuel intake. Imagine a tiny rotary door managing air and fuel, way ahead of its time and more complex than your average Vespa. Oh, and numbers matter. Approximately 7.8 horsepower at 5,500 revolutions per minute, and a displacement around 98 cc. It's featherlight, tipping the scales at roughly 200 pounds dry, so it's nimble as heck but also bounces on rough roads like a pogo stick, which, by the way, might explain why it felt like a mechanical trampoline. Beyond the engine, the Topper has a 3-speed foot-shifted gearbox, no auto, so riders had to shift manually. Some found it charming, others called it pedal-powered confusion. And the fuel tank perches under the seat, so fueling required removing that seat. Which sounds cozy, but try that in traffic. Stay tuned. The Topper's design has an even quirkier cousin in its suspension that's going to blow your mind. Even quirkier cousin in its suspension coming up. If you thought the engine was weird, wait until you hear this. The Topper's frame is a rigid steel backbone, with no rear suspension at all. That's right, riding this on anything besides smooth pavement was like balancing on a tightrope in flip-flops. To try and soften the blow, Harley added rubber inserts and a sprung seat, but riders still reported feeling, "I can feel my kidneys tap dancing." Front suspension? A leading link fork setup, not telescopic forks, but still better than none. So the ride was a weird mashup of soft yet still rigid. It's like wearing socks on concrete and expecting to glide. Technically cushioned, but oof, still rough. Later on, when we talk about how many they sold or didn't, that chassis quirk played a big role. But before that, you'll love the marketing gimmick they tried to push to sell the darn thing. Up next, the marketing pitch so crazy, they almost sold it to lawn chair racing enthusiasts. Picture this. It's 1960. Dealers are scratching their heads. How do you sell a pint-sized, underpowered scooter with a stiff ride? Harley's answer, call it fun, easy, and affordable transportation. Ads touted the Topper as a gentle, economical alternative. They even referenced urban commuters, because everyone knows city streets in 1960 were as flat as pancakes. But reality? The Topper underwhelmed. Poor power, rough ride, and a quirky engine made it feel less like an Italian chic and more like an afterthought. Dealers struggled. Sales were low. Within a few years, Harley scrapped it, while Vespa and Lambretta kept cruising to triumph. Here's the twist you weren't expecting. The Topper's engine concept, rotary valve induction, later inspired Moto Guzzi designs. Yes, a commercial flop from Harley indirectly influenced sportier bikes down the line. How's that for redemption? But wait, this story's got one more bizarre detour coming. Fast forward decades. The 1960 Harley Davidson Topper becomes collectible. Why? Because of that oddball charm, ways less common than a unicorn sighting at a cafe. On the vintage bike circuit, riders and collectors love it for its quirk factor. A topper in decent condition can fetch over $2,500 to $4,000, depending on how complete and unrestored it is, especially if you hold on to that original spare rotor or the factory headlight mount. I mean, you almost get paid to be weird. But be warned, parts are rare, and the rotary valves require careful rebuilding. One tiny flaw, and your quaint morning ride goes poof. The irony? That quirky engine that ended its downfall also fuels its desirability today. It's like the bike is trolling time. What made it unpopular now makes it precious. Hang tight, because the final secret about the Topper's hidden engineering shortcut will knock your socks off. The final secret about its hidden engineering shortcut is just ahead. Here's the moment you've waited for. Harley engineers, strapped for time and money, essentially cobbled together the Topper using parts from existing models, borrowing gearbox components from a small Harley off-roader, and even repurposing headlight assemblies meant for mini-bikes. But here's the kicker. They welded a custom ignition coil directly onto the engine case, rather than mounting it neatly somewhere else. That apparently saved tooling costs, but also meant the coil got toasty riding in hot weather, causing random misfires and utter confusion among riders diagnosing, "Why does my spark keep slipping off?" So the actual devil was in the details. Literally tacked on. That bodge? What doomed the model also makes it fascinating 65 years later. A bike born from necessity, patched with ingenuity, and ended up as an oddball legend. Now that you know the full story, now that you've uncovered the full depth of the 1960 Harley Davidson Topper, from its quirky rotary valve engine and pogo stick frame to its late-night engineering shortcuts, you've seen how odd ideas can spark absurd innovation. It's a machine that stumbled into legend, not by design but by its delightful weirdness. If you've enjoyed peeling back the layers of this mechanical misfit, punch that like button as if you're squeezing the last drop of grease out of a wrench, and definitely subscribe for more deep dive curiosities. Thanks for cruising through this story with me. It's been a wild ride, and I'll see you next time on AB Tech Lab. Stay curious and keep chasing the unexpected.